Okay, Andres Munoz, reliever number 2. What grade did you give him?
A minus. It was close. When I think about this, it could have been worse and it could have been better because if we are, it depends how you're grading Andres Munoz. I graded him in the looking not how he performed last season. I graded him how he stacked up in this bullpen this year, which you look at his overall numbers were good. His ERA was not right next to his expected ERA. He struck out 32% of the batters he faced. His FIP was 2.7. Those are all things you love to see among relievers with 40 innings, 22nd strikeout rate, 18th in FIP. So very good season for Andres Munoz. If you want to make a case that his grade should have been lower, it's the fact that he was as good as he was this year, significantly worse than he was last season. We came on this podcast and said at the beginning of the season, our expectation for Andres Munoz is for him to be a top 5 reliever in baseball. He wasn't a top 5 reliever in baseball. I don't really think he was close to a top 5 reliever in baseball this season, which stunk. He lost pretty much all effectiveness in his slider this season. And yet he's so talented that he still managed to put up an A minus season in our eyes, and the stats would reflect it as well.
I also gave Munoz an A minus, so we're 2 for 2 on similar grades here. And by the way, for those curious, TJ and I don't tell it. TJ and I do not tell each other what our grades are of each pitcher before we do these. We like it to be kind of a surprise on the show, so then we compare notes. But we are 2 for 2. I think everything you've outlined is more than fair for why he gets a good grade. I think there's also a lot to be outlined, which you also talked about, for why he was not as good as he was a season ago. Along with, I'll add one more thing, that his walk rate was way up. He was walking
Yep.
way more guys this year than he was a season ago. So that didn't help him. And obviously that led to more traffic on the base paths. We saw Munoz get into a lot of close calls late in games this year when he was trying to close games out. And a couple of them he blew, a couple of them were just very, very high pressure situations where it was right on the brink and he just barely found a way to notch out a save. But yeah, he just wasn't quite as crisp as he was last season. And part of that's because of the walks. Part of that was because his slider wasn't as effective. So you'd hope some of those things could kind of get fixed in the offseason. To Munoz's credit, however, he still pitched the way he did, which was very well, considering he had essentially no spring training. He missed most of the first 2 months of the year. He pitched in the first couple series and then went on the IL for about 2 months. And he didn't really get a shot to adjust to the pitch clock either, which I heard him say in an interview was a little bit of an adjustment. Like, imagine if you're Andres Munoz, you didn't pitch a game in spring training, so never got to see the pitch clock there. Pitched in a couple of big league games where he got a little bit of experience with it. And then between having the lingering foot injury and also coming back and having to adjust to the pitch clock, having the season he did, he deserves some credit for that, and I wouldn't be shocked if he totally flushes this next year.
Just to put in context of what happened to his slider last year, his slider was one of the best pitches in baseball. It was a plus 20 run value on Baseball Savant. This season, plus 3. That's a major drop off for what we consider an elite pitch. If you look on another plus side, though, his fastball went from subpar last year to actually plus this season, improved his fastball with across the board with expected stats, expected batting average, expected slugging, K percentage, and whiff percentage. And I think it paired really well with the sinker he added as well. Started throwing that a little bit more to kind of offset the ineffectiveness of his slider this season. So in an ideal world next year, he has that sinker, which graded out positively. He has the fastball, which was improving in 2023. And he has a slider that hopefully regains 80% of its 2022 value. That would make Andres Munoz, that would vault him back into a top 5 reliever spot. But that's the level we hold Andres Munoz at. And when he doesn't hit it, he gets dinged for it because we know he's better than being outside the top 5.
Could you imagine if he has all 3 of those pitches working in full force next year? If his fastball stays this good, if his sinker stays this good, and he gets his slider back? What does that Andres Munoz look like?
It eliminates most of the damage risk against him because if you throw that slider more, you might put a bat on it, but you're not doing any damage with that swing. If you're going to have success against Munoz, it's going to be all luck based because, when his slider's on, you're not hitting that. When he's pumping 101 with that fastball and it's at its peak, it's really hard to barrel up 101-mile-an-hour fastballs. And oh, by the way, when he's throwing a 98-mile-an-hour tailing sinker off the outside corner to lefties, yeah, I don't know if you're really doing much damage with that either. What do you plan on hitting?
He would be one tough dude to hit. Not that he's not already, but if he gets that slider back next year and gets some of his command back a little bit, we're talking about a guy who can be the best reliever in baseball, the number one reliever in baseball, if he does all those things, because he is that good.